In this video we're looking at two cows' feet. This horrendous back left foot, which ends up still looking like a mess, and we're revisiting this cow. A cow who we saw 4 weeks ago and was in a huge amount of pain. That mooing noise, by the way, is not me, it's her.
And I won't let it rush when I see you dance, and the moment comes when I fall and time goes slow. I fall into you.
So we first saw this cow 4 weeks ago. We knew she was very, very lame, but when we picked her foot up, it didn't look all that bad. But things can, and often do, rapidly change. We uncovered a serious problem with this inner claw, and we stripped back all the outer layers of hoof horn to reveal this mess. This is corium, completely exposed and inflamed. And it's little wonder it was causing this cow so much bother. We trimmed everything we could away from that site and applied a block before wrapping it up. And this is how she looked when she left the crush. Well, fast forward to today, and it is 4 weeks later, and she's back in the crush. Her block's still in place, which is good. And her foot... I'm not sure if it's totally healed, to be totally honest. But we are just about to find out. There's a little bit of overgrowth here, so this has been 4 weeks, so our foot will have grown about 7 millimeters. So theoretically, we can take about 5 or 6 away from here because it has still been touching the ground. This hasn't been, which is why it's really black. It's stained from the slurry. This part here is touching the ground, and so unfortunately is this, which is why it's whiter. So very gingerly and very carefully, I tried to remove some of the excess height from around the toe of this inner claw. I say very twitchy because she is twitching herself, and I don't want her to flinch too much and me make an unwanted cut. So I'm being as gentle as I possibly can, but don't dare to travel up towards her heel because I know she really is going to flinch up there. And like I said, I'm not willing to make a mistake. So this is where the main problem was last time, but all of this looks like it's detached now. That white bit there you can see is hoof horn drying out. It's called pith. I'm just going to model this area out and get rid of this detached hoof horn. See up here, it's all detached, look. Well, not all, but it's definitely got some detachment. Sorry about the tractor in the background. She's flinching constantly. I don't think it's hurting her. I think she's just a nervous cow, which is fair enough. Just to make sure all of this is completely sound. Taking tiny, tiny little slithers. Just work our way around here. Hey. Struggling away. Like I say, I'm fairly confident we're not hurting her anyway, but she is nervous, which is why she's so flinchy. Right, this is where the main problem was. It's looking pretty good. No, it's not. It's looking really good. I'm happy with this. Really, really happy with this. Just make sure none of these little cuts or cracks here are deeper than they look. Which they are not. Okay. Actually, there's a bit of a ridge in there, isn't there? Take a bit of that out. She doesn't need it to be there. And opening up that interdigital space. You can hear how hard it is, can't you? That's better. Deepen that a little bit. So this is what her foot was looking like last time when we finished the trim. It was open and raw, and the corium was completely exposed on that inner claw. And this is a side-by-side comparison view. A massive difference in just 4 weeks. And a result I'm really happy with. I am concerned that that's slightly thin though, so what we're going to do is we're going to put a block on, but she doesn't need a full block, so we're going to use a rubber block instead. So we clean off this existing block, and luckily it's not completely soaked through. The danger can be that it's saturated with moisture, so the new glue wouldn't stick. This rubber block will only last 3 or 4 weeks, and then it will be completely worn down, by which point this inner claw should have thickened up. Go brown. And the block will be no more. That's a nice old cow, actually. So as we see her exit the crush here, we can look back to how she was 4 weeks ago. This is how she was walking, actually particularly well for a cow in such a state. And this is how she's walking today. Clearly not perfectly, but I have every confidence that she will be very soon. Right, next cow. Right, there's a little bit of extra height on here. This needs flattened off because we're obviously going to need a block on here. So we're going to flatten this bit off. We're going to take this extra height away from here, but we're going to try and avoid this area obviously with the grinder, and then somehow deal with this. Clearly this cow has been treated before, so there's not all that much material to come off. I flatten off that inner claw before reducing the entire size of the outer claw, and I move this paddle slightly out of the way so that I can reduce the length of her toes before getting on with the real meat of the job and slicing away those huge flaps of hoof horn. Tease this whole piece away. Clearly that is really open, so I want to slice it this way because it would be much easier, but I might touch this really raw tissue here, so I'm going to slice the other way, which is really awkward for me, but came away nice and easy actually. A real mess. Right, get rid of all of this in here. And dish this out as deeply as we can. You can see that's still detached up there. Incredible condition some cows' feet can get into. Despite, like I said, she's being looked after. There's no doubt about it. It's just something has gone wrong. I'm going to have to, I need rid of all this dirt off here, but obviously it's not going to wash off, so I'm just going to use the knife to just scrape a small amount of hoof horn from the top of the sole, or bottom of the sole as it is. It's top as we look at it, I suppose. But I need clean hoof horn, fresh hoof horn, if that block's going to stick. Same up in here as well. Actually sort of avoiding coming around here because I know it's going to be difficult. Right, one knife in there and just flick little bits away. So this is the lamina corium and this is the lamina hoof horn. And these little lines intersect with these little lines in this incredibly strong attachment. And that the hoof actually hangs from these lamina. It's not held up by the sole. The whole cow is actually hanging from that attachment, so you can just get an idea of how incredibly strong it is. But when they become inflamed, they swell up and burst apart, and that's partly because that's partly because she's probably banged herself or whatever, and it started to bruise, and that wall horn, because it needs to be so strong and structural, doesn't flex, so it needs to go somewhere, and unfortunately it bursts at the top or the bottom in this case. Right, let's get a block on there like that. That's so much quicker than doing it the other way, don't you think?
Yeah, it's just simply magic, Graham.
Yeah,
magic.
it is, yeah. I just want to get that little bit in there. Gotta get every shred away from this area. It is messy, but actually that's trimmed up quite well. There's a little bit in there that I need to get rid of. See that tiny little bit just flapping away. Right. Actually fairly happy with that. It's so raw and open that it's never going to look good, but we've got rid of all of the cracked and detached and loose flappy horn that's been all round about it. And hopefully now our topical solution will kill that dermatitis and hopefully get on with the job of healing this foot. Although it could have been us that trimmed her last time. Clearly we failed then, so it's a bit of a case of fingers crossed, to be honest. I find it incredible. I know I just talked about it, but seeing those lamina corium like that, it's just, to me, I don't know, I just find it interesting. Yes, it looks a mess, but having the block in place is going to make them miles more comfortable. Believe it or not, we're not all about fixing cows' feet, are we, Craig?
No. What else are we about?
Making them more comfortable and functional.
But that's still about cows' feet though, eh?
Yeah, but sometimes we can't fix them. I'm not saying we
No.
can't fix this one,
No.
but our job really is to make them more comfortable, isn't it?
Yeah. If we can't fix it, best to make it more comfortable. Yeah, I get that, yeah.
We call it Dutch foot trimming, but the Dutch people call it functional foot trimming. And that makes much more sense. When a cow is sore and in pain and she comes into the crush, we're looking to give her more functionality from that foot and to reduce any pain that she's feeling. Which I think we'll have achieved, won't we?
I think so, yeah. Better to do something than to do nothing.
Anyway, folks, that's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching this episode of the Hoof GP.